live in the morning on KTRS.
These people are horrible people. They're horrible, horrible liars. And interestingly, it happens to appear 26 days before our very important election. Isn't that amazing?
Donald Trump is not talking about our next guest. That's Brad Melke, ABC News correspondent from New York. Good morning, Brad Melke.
Good morning. Yeah, that's right. Donald Trump is not angry at me personally, but at our kind, he's certainly very upset, saying that the media is sort of being used by the Clintons as pawns in sort of this vast global conspiracy that he says is taking down not just him, but his reputation, his business, even his family.
Let me back up a second and talk about these emails first, because I'm lost in where we are in this email scandal, because his bravado and his bluster is overshadowing the emails. Where are we with this email dump?
Well, there's two different things happening, right? There's the WikiLeaks thing, which is sort of the news of the week, this drip of emails. The most damaging one probably that Newt Gingrich told me yesterday he sees as the most damaging is that one where Hillary Clinton explaining behind closed doors that her ultimate vision in the world, her ultimate dream would be a sort of hemispheric open market with open borders. And that sort of speaks to this idea that there's a public Clinton and a private Clinton, right? Not yet a smoking gun as far as scandals saying this is how we're going to lie about Hillary Clinton to the American public, but it does sort of fuel that perception that politicians are not always shooting straight with you. But then there's this other thing, McGraw, of Judicial Watch, that conservative group, put in a freedom of information request about Hillary Clinton's private email server, and just recently, just last night, she submitted her written answers to several questions that a judge ordered her to answer. And so in that, she said, again, that she never informed record-keeping officials that she would use that private email server. She said it never even occurred to her how private emails sent to her private accounts would actually be retained for public records. And she used the phrase, a version of the phrase, do not recall, more than 20 times in that document.
Yeah. Did Newt Gingrich remind you that he was the one who helped navigate NAFTA through the Congress?
That's right. And so you've got this sort of, you have two candidates who say they are anti-TPP, but sort of dealing with people on all sides from either party that at points have been pro-trade. Both of the running mates for these candidates were big champions of NAFTA and at some points of TPP as well.
All right, now let's talk about the women who have come out. It's fast and furious. I've lost count. How many women now are out accusing Donald Trump of some sort of harassment?
Well, it's difficult to tell. We had essentially 4 in one day. It sort of counts even higher than that. We at ABC are still trying to check in with each of these women who have come out, and we've had relatively little success with that. So we're still trying to get all of our facts straight before we continue, or before we go in depth on each of their stories. But the New York Times story is one we've been focusing on in particular, and that, of course, we have had a lot of comment from Donald Trump's campaign, and the New York Times has sent a sort of a rebuttal to Donald Trump, saying they're not planning on retracting that story anytime soon because they dutifully fact-checked it as much as humanly possible. They also say that as Donald Trump prepares a libel suit against them, that libel suits are about reputation, and Donald Trump was the one who bragged about groping women and kissing them without their consent. There's only these allegations that Trump says were unfair because he never actually did them.
There's a story in Politico this morning saying that the RNC is spending virtually nothing on TV ads for the Trump campaign. There's a story in the New York Times this morning, mega donors, including one here in Missouri, David Humphreys, who's telling the RNC to dump Trump. Where are we with the party and Donald Trump and or Reince Priebus? Anything new there?
Well, Reince Priebus says that he's sticking by Donald Trump. People within the RNC that are helping the Trump campaign says that is not changing. But you look right up, to Capitol Hill, and that is where the real fires have been, right? And you see people that are being told by Paul Ryan, hey, bash Donald Trump, bash me if you want to, do whatever you have to do to win your House race. And that's creating a sort of a very dangerous scenario for Donald Trump, because if you get to the point in just, a couple weeks from now where the RNC is deciding whether to spend a little extra money on a swing state for Donald Trump, or whether to spend that on several different House races and try to retain the House majority, guess where they're going to send that money? And that is sort of the nightmare scenario that Trump is facing. And that's why he's waging not just a battle with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, but the Republican Party at large.
Brad Melke, great job as always. ABC News correspondent in New York. Brad, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
7:42, Big 550.